Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Thursday's tutorial. Today's Q&A. As mentioned to the people that are online, I'm not going to keep it for a double. I'm going to keep it as long as necessary to help with questions and answers. I'm just waiting on some more questions. I've got more explanations on inheritance and code. So we got inheritance and code, which I can then look at. I'm not sure what you mean by how do you instantiate variables in the form. How to use my instantiated variables in the form. I'm not exactly sure what the question is for. You use them as you did in composition. This doesn't really change. And I'm really confused with the mybase.new in constructor. It's the same as a normal constructor. There's nothing different. The mybase.new is still a constructor. Nothing's really different. You don't represent it any other way than a normal constructor. There's no keyword for that. It's just a constructor. Any other questions before I start with this? Okay, let's see. Should we add interest charges to accounts if they exceed the limit? It wasn't indicated in the question, so no. Some code examples and further explanation on interfaces. Interfaces I'll do next week. There's no need for interfaces. I don't know where you guys think interfaces come into for this week's practical, but it doesn't come into this week's practical. I'll discuss interfaces, that's fine, no issue with that, but it's not needed for today's practical, so just for tomorrow's practical, keep that in mind. Okay, anything else? Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? I'll wait 2 more minutes before I start coding, but I need something to work with for inheritance examples, so give me something to work with. Okay, no more other questions are coming up. That's fine. Give me something to work with for inheritance. Give me something to work as a base. Yeah, abstract class doesn't help. Give me something as a base. Mobile phone. Okay, that we can work with. Thank you. So let's go mobile phone. Go mobile device, and we can always expand on that. So what are some of the attributes for a mobile device? They all, okay, I got the question that came up. Please explain. Okay, size screen, thank you. The one question that came up while I'm typing, I see, is the fact that you've said, explain how to use your override methods, normal methods, and must override methods. Ladies and gentlemen, you access them the same way as you did for composition. Methods are the same thing, nothing's changed. Name of the object dot method name, nothing changes. So we got private screen size, integer, private brand, a string. Okay, let's have one more and then we'll move on to a derived class. Okay, one more attribute, and while you guys are thinking of that, I see a question, but there must be a reason why we are supposed to use a specific method. Context. Do all mobile devices have cameras? Okay, so we can't use camera quality. Something else? Battery, that's a good one. As integer for the system type, like Linux, Android, call. Not all mobile devices can call either. Okay, so that's our base class. Are we going to have a constructor for this base class? No constructor. Why? Every mobile device has at least a brand name. No common attributes. What do you mean no common attributes? Those are all common attributes. To context and to nothing to construct in the attributes. You guys are forgetting what a constructor is. What is the point of a constructor? Is there a constructor already, by the way? Yes, there's a constructor already. It's a parameter, it's the default constructor. So there's a constructor already. So you can't say there's nothing to construct in attributes. That kind of defeats the purpose of a constructor. What is the point of a constructor? To create the object, correct. Nothing to put in parameters. You guys aren't using your imagination. When developing classes, you don't always know where they're going to be used. If I'm making a mobile device, at least has a brand name. You guys have to think beyond just what you're being told. Because unfortunately, practicals aren't always, your projects always aren't going to come with a full set of instructions. So you have to actually think a bit. There's not always going to be, this is your constructor, this is your attributes. You have to, and third, you have to develop a program from scratch by yourself. No one's going to tell you what must be in the class. You have to do it yourself. Okay, some property methods. Why? For the sake of it. I'm assuming that I'll at least know the brand name if I'm creating an object. If I don't know the brand name, I can always use the parameterless one. Structure overloading, yes. Can we make the class abstract? Sure. That just means it's a must inherit. That's nothing else. That makes it abstract, remember. Yes, you can ask a question. And just check the settings if mics are available. Okay, share audio is available now. You can talk.
Say,
Yes,
can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so in the morning I'd ask you the question regarding the my base class function
Yeah, what about it?
that is used to extend what methods. I ask you, it's like on Monday on the site there was you were converting it to an integer in a class. I was asking you whether it is correct or not.
Depends on how it's being used. It could be correct, yes.
Okay, you can convert it to an integer string in a class.
Depends on how it's being used.
Okay, thanks.
Everything is in context of how it's being used. You can't just assume certain things. It has to be within context of code and usability. So again, depends on context. Okay, I'll get back to the question there. Battery brand name. I'm assuming once you've got a brand name, you don't really change it. You can't really modify a brand name. So that's a read only. Once a brand name set, you can't really change it. So, or once objects made unknown. Yeah. So for the practical, we don't have to have must override functions, even though the base is abstract. Correct. I don't know. I haven't done the memo yet. I'm doing the memo just now. But abstract doesn't necessarily mean you have to have must override functions. Correct. I have an abstract method, but I have no abstract methods. I have an abstract class, sorry, without abstract methods. Okay, but I'm doing the memo once I'm finished with the TUT, so then I'll have a better understanding as well. Does this have any methods? Ladies and gentlemen, does the mobile device have any methods? What? You can't say yes and nothing else. Give me a method. CalcBat. How do we do that? So I've CalcBat, so battery life. How do we do that? Check battery. Okay. Public function check battery as integer. Let's see. Return battery. Let's see. I have something. Battery. What's battery size? Misery name. Um, let's have private current charge as integer. Current charge equals 0. Current charge equals 0. Check battery. Current charge divided by battery size times 100. Give me the approximate percentage of the battery. On its integers, I don't worry about the other bits and pieces. And public subroutine charge battery amount as integer. Current charge plus equals amount. Okay, let's get questions. Okay, I've made up battery charging or current battery life. Why do you have two constructors? For the sake of it, I guess. Because if I don't know the one, I have another backup. I don't plan the tutorials out, so if I have the name of the brand name, then I'll use the first constructor. If I don't have a brand name, it's an unknown brand, and it kind of sticks with that for life. Because once you make the object, the brand name's kind of stuck. And once you build something, it kind of has a brand name, or it doesn't have a brand name, I guess. Okay. It's a rough outline for our base class. That's fine. It's a must inherit, an abstract. So give me a derived class now. What potential derived classes could we have? Nokia is a brand, not a type. Smartphone. Okay, smartphone can work. Flip phone. Burner phone. Brick phone. I don't think. Tablet could work. It also could be a mobile device. So we could have tablet. iPhone, that's a smartphone. That's just a brand of a smartphone. It inherits smart, no, smart device. What did I call it? No, it doesn't like, oh, mobile device. Okay. We've got inheriting going on. Let's work with the smartphone first. We come back to the tablet. What additional attributes or methods does a smartphone have? Apps, camera. Okay. We'll go with camera. Camera quality at this time. I'm probably spelling that wrong, but hey, double. What else? Notebook can have multiple devices too. Can be a notebook can be a mobile device, correct? Bluetooth. Bluetooth range is fixed. It can have Wi-Fi. It can have Bluetooth. So has Bluetooth, as Boolean, private, as Wi-Fi, as Boolean, storage, that'll work. Storage and memory kind of doubles up as the same thing. Let's start working with methods. What methods does a smartphone have? Take photo, that can work. Public function, wait. Take photo is quite difficult. Let me think. Function photo. Actually, no. Sub. I'll think of something to add there. Factory reset. The charges, that would be a method, I guess. That's correct, but you could put that mobile device because that's a common method of all devices. So charging, Mr. Van Vestes, unless you want to code the overclocking, you're welcome to. For take photo storage minus camera quality. That's pretty much what I was going to do. I'd have to reduce from the storage, the memory. Okay, thank you for the suggestion. Okay, what else? Or should I switch to using the form now, ladies and gentlemen? Because we can add methods till the cars come home, but that's just methods. Must I switch to instantiating it in the form and using it in the form? Okay, let's just get the property methods for these, camera quality, etc. Remember, you can't access them. Unless there is actually a property method. Those are all private. Listen, that's one thing I've picked up. Some of you have sent me questions or sent me things to look at, and you've got everything set to public or set to protected. Unless you can justify it being protected, you can't really use protected. But please keep in mind, you can't just just throw everything as protected in that and say lacquer. It's protected. You need a valid reason for making everything protected. Yeah, okay. If the yawning doesn't tell you guys all, I am tired. Hungry like a lion. Yes. Storage as double. And let's go brand name as string. Go marbase dot new brand name at least. Go storage equals storage. You can only read the storage. We can't really public read only storage as double get return storage. Doesn't have public read only property get and get and pro. Then let's have a public sub clean storage. Value as double storage plus equals value. So we clean up certain amount of storage. Okay, I can add extra functionality to that, but that's fine. So if I declare protected function in our base class, the function will only be visible to derived classes. Yes. Unfortunately, he's just left the. He must have got kicked from the session. So you can get the answer in the recording, I guess, or if he comes back, I'll give him his answer. Now, if you go to our form, let's go and say set up smart phone. ETN set up smart phone. Set up smartphone. So we can have a private object smart phone as a smart phone. Okay. Now we can't just go and say object smartphone equals new object because I've put the constriction of having to know the brand name and the storage. So as the phone's being created, we need to know at least what brand it is and how much memory it's going to have. So we'll ask the user before we create it what the brand name is and what the memory is. What is the preferable in using functions or subroutines for calculations? Depends if you want something returned or not. And name string equals input box. Please enter the brand name. Storage as double TDBL input box. Please enter the store amount. And here we go, storage and brand name. Then we can go and say object smartphone dot battery size equals, and we can go and say camera quality equals, and we can go and say object smartphone dot has Wi-Fi, screen size, etc. Okay, you can just keep going through all of the attributes and getting the correct values. Then we need to call its different functionalities. Okay, so maybe here we go and say take photo. And we had clean storage. and we had charge. You know, we've got to demonstrate that it can take these specific functionalities. Let me actually give them a name. Also, code's going to look bad. So this is btn take photo, btn clean storage, btn charge. I don't know if we have, or let's go check battery. Check battery. And it's simply a matter of fact of going ob object smartphone dot take photo. Then it's clean storage, and then it's check battery. So this would then say, let's throw in a text box. We'll make it a multi-line text box. And add some vertical scroll bar. Not horizontal, vertical. Vertical, damn you. TXT smartphone display. So we can say here txt display dot text and equals smartphone created environment dot newline. Why is this complaining? What have I named incorrectly? Oh, txt smartphone display. Txt smartphone display dot text. Yay. I'm going to copy that. Photo taken. And we're going to say that this get the storage, so we can convert to string the object smartphone dot storage. Because every time we take a picture, the storage will decrease. Dot new line. Okay, and then we can say input box clean amount as double. Wait, let's say clean amount as integer. Clean. I got integer. Clean amount. Clean amount equals cint input box. How many photos deleted? We can say object smartphone dot clean storage, and we can go clean amount times object smartphone times camera quality, and then we can say storage cleaned say battery level should have brand name check battery, charge battery, check battery. That's integer, that'll work. So one thing we must do is set the actual quality. CDBR, I'll go to your question now. Input box. Input box. What is the camera quality? What it, in practical 6, who must enter the limit? The limit is entered by the user when they create the credit card. So smartphone, what is the brand name? Someone said Nokia earlier, so Nokia. What is the storage? 200. Quality of the camera, 6 megapixel. So it's created. We take some photos. We clean the storage. How many? We're going to delete, say, 20. That calculation doesn't work since we can't exceed the storage. But hey, and check battery level, and that's going to give us a arithmetic operation overflow exception because the battery level charge and the battery size is 0, so it's going to give us a problem. Only for fixed deposits. Okay, I'm not sure what that is supposed to mean. Only for fixed deposits. Yeah, but you say only for fixed. Okay, the interest. The interest is set by the user. Okay. But ladies and gentlemen, those who have been battling or I don't know, not working with the attributes or instantiating, that's how you instantiate, that's how you would illustrate it working, is invoking the respective methods inside the object and actually displaying what happens. Since we don't have physical devices to work with, this is the best way, this is the one of the only ways of displaying what's happening. Welcome back. Your question, okay, now he's off again. Back. Your question from earlier, if I declare a protected function in my base class, the function will only be visible in derived classes. That's correct. Only your derived classes can see protected methods. Okay. So that's interface and code very roughly done. Any other specific questions on that? Okay, because here I've gone and made a mobile device. We've given it attributes. We've got a constructor. We've got 2 constructors. We have our attributes. We don't duplicate. Okay, one thing I picked up, some of you guys are duplicating methods. I don't have charge battery check and check battery 9 smartphone. Okay, I have what's applicable to a smartphone here. Okay, and in the form, I create the object. I get the information. I call the functions. Go over the form again. I'm just calling the methods of the respective object. So I'm showing that the object can actually do what I said. It's going to break on check battery level because 0 divided by 0 is a problem. So somewhere along the way, we should have charge and check battery level. We should invoke those. But again, I'm not going to, my goal isn't to spoon feed you guys. I'm trying to get you guys to think, let everyone to think and actually get through the work, as there's never one fixed solution for these things. If you're doing class validation, are we giving the validation value? How would we inform the user? That'll be discussed properly when we do exception handling. Just have a validation method that stops it going below 0, which is a good point. We would need a validation method on taking photo, because every time I could take a photo, we decrease the storage, and the storage can't go below 0. So we'd have to have a valid something to stop it going below 0. How do we inform the user? That would be either we change take photo to maybe a function, a Boolean, and if the photo is successful, we pass back a true or false. Or we do exception handling, which we'll discuss next week. Okay. Any other specific questions, ladies and gentlemen? Because I don't want to keep you guys here for a full hour and a half if it's not needed. As you have maths and comp sci to study for, I know those are on the back of your mind. But you guys are worried about practical 6, so that's why you're here. So any other specific questions, let's ask them so we can get through it. So when calling a function that has validation, the property method, it's like avoiding having to do too much code on the property method. Not really. Property methods that have validation ensure that we don't make mistakes. Remember, right now, if I run the code and I try and do the last button, my program breaks because I haven't got a value for battery or for a current charge. So I've got a complete broken code. So you'd have that validation will make sure that doesn't happen. That's the point of the validation. So why do we sometimes call methods in property methods validate? And depends on what methods. Sometimes you call methods to set the values. If a function does the same in all the derived classes, they need to override it? No. If there's no change to the function, it doesn't need to be overridden. Only things that are going to change are overridable, and then you override. You don't just make it. You don't override for the sake of overriding if it doesn't change. Any other questions? You guys are going quiet. If only two classes have some calculation, the other class doesn't, do we make a method overridable? Yeah, problem is you got to take into context all of them. So if only two classes have some calculation, the other one doesn't, do we make the method overridable? That depends on the context of the question, but also the context of the classes. Can we use groupbox for each account? If you understand how to use groupbox, you can. You'll be asked to explain it though. So for each account, I'll use a panel to separate them. That's fine, but you just need to explain. So should I explain it in my design? Because whether I go to Discord, my marks is unavailable. Explain it in your design then. Okay, unfortunately, not all the assistants are available during the afternoon sessions as I have limited data. So if that is the situation, then put it in your design so at least can see it there. So back to the conversation to strings or integers in a class. Is it okay as long as it does not involve text and input boxes? I'm not sure what that is in context with, because that is not nowhere near in line with conversation. But give me context on that question, because I have no idea what you're referring to there. You can't use input boxes or text boxes or anything in your classes. It doesn't really matter what you declare variables as. If it is fine if I calculate interest function, I put days as a parameter. No, you're not allowed to. The question doesn't allow you to. You have to stick to the functions and how they are called in the question. You can't change them. You cannot modify the function names or method names that are given in Practical 6. You cannot add extra attributes. You cannot modify the classes in any way. Those are what you're supposed to use and only what you're supposed to use. So you can't add extra for the sake of adding, and you can't change a function. Even for the bonus, you've got to find another way around that. Okay, the questions are starting to get very thin. I'm going to stop the recording. Well, go on recording for it until 2 o'clock. But ladies and gentlemen, please ask questions. Okay, hand up, go for it.
So I hope my mic's not feeding back this time. But
No, it's fine.
okay, awesome. So in my practice, I'm trying to do error handling at the very basic kind, like you mentioned earlier, just using a function, a Boolean function that returns true or false. But it's not. So in the how do I say this? in the in the practical breakdown, it's not. I'm doing it for the withdraw function. Well, for the withdraw sub, I guess. Does that count as extending its functionality, or?
Yeah, that would be a count extending its functionality. Rather not do that for now.
Okay, cool. Because it just mentioned that if you can see that the amount is going to make the balance negative, that you should warn the user with a message. So I was wondering how.
Oh, right. Okay, then it's valid to use a Boolean and you can display a message. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, sir.
In that context, then you're valid to do it. Then you're allowed to do it.
Cool.
Okay, the once you said, please can I see the take photo button. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording as the questions are diminishing quite drastically. Um,